Did you know that when you eat could be just as important, if not more important, than what you eat when it comes to your brain health? Welcome to Sleepedia, a corner of the internet dedicated to the science of sleep and circadian rhythms. Today, we're unpacking some absolutely fascinating science that connects your meal schedule directly to your risk of having a stroke. It's a simple change that could be one of the most powerful things you do to protect your brain. So let's get right into it.
Wow, that really sets the stage, doesn't it? A stroke doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's not about one bad decision or one restless night. It's about the patterns, the habits we build over years. And those patterns can either be a shield for our brain or, well, they can put it right in harm's way.
So that's the critical question, right? Because it's not just about feeling a little groggy the next day. There are deep biological processes that are supposed to be happening while you're asleep. And when they don't, the consequences for your brain can be really, really severe.
So let's start with the danger itself. What is actually going on inside your head when you're not getting enough quality rest? Let's break it down. Thinking of a stroke as a brain attack is such a powerful way to understand it. We all know what a heart attack is. Well, this is the same idea, but for your brain. Blood flow gets cut off, and your brain cells are starved of the oxygen they desperately need to survive.
And here's a number that should really make you sit up and pay attention. This isn't just a guess. This is from solid research published in the journal Neurology. If you are consistently sleeping less than 5 hours a night, you are putting yourself in a significantly higher risk category for a stroke. That's not a minor detail, my friends. That is a major warning sign.
So, why is that lack of sleep so incredibly dangerous? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is this amazing process called the glymphatic system. Think of it like your brain's overnight cleaning crew. And the really important part, this crew only comes out to work when you're in deep sleep, washing away all the toxic gunk and metabolic waste that builds up while you're awake. And this slide just lays it out so clearly. It's a tale of two brains. When you get that deep sleep, the cleaning system is switched on. Inflammation goes down, and your blood vessels stay strong and healthy. But with poor sleep, that waste just sits there, it builds up, it causes inflammation, and it literally weakens the very vessels that your brain relies on to live. So we've established that poor sleep stops your brain from cleaning itself. But what if something in our daily routine is actively sabotaging the sleep we do manage to get? This is where meal timing enters the picture. And trust me, this is a total game changer. See, your body isn't just run by one big master clock in your brain. Every single organ, your liver, your stomach, your pancreas, they all have their own tiny little clocks. And they're all supposed to be perfectly synchronized, all doing the right job at the right time. But when you eat late at night, you throw a massive wrench into that entire system. And this is the perfect illustration of that conflict. Imagine it's 10 p.m. Your brain's clock is shouting, "Okay, team, shut it down. It's time to run the cleaning cycle." But your gut clock, which is now dealing with that late dinner you just had, is screaming, "No way, full power to digestion." Your body is literally fighting itself, creating system-wide stress, which is the absolute last thing you want when your brain is trying to repair itself. So if eating late causes all this internal chaos, what's the solution? Well, the science is pointing very clearly to a strategy called time-restricted feeding, or TRF for short. And the proof that it works is incredibly compelling. Now, as with a lot of this groundbreaking science, the very first clues that we were on to something big came from animal studies. These studies give researchers a level of control you just can't get with humans, and they really laid out the roadmap for what we know now. For example, a huge study in the journal Nature Communications found that mice on a time-restricted diet were remarkably resilient. I mean, when these mice did have a stroke, The difference was just dramatic. Their brains swelled less, they got their motor skills back faster, and that critical blood-brain barrier stayed much, much stronger. I just love this analogy the researchers used. They called it a biological insurance policy for the brain. Think about that for a second. TRF isn't just about lowering your risk factors. It's about proactively making your brain tougher, strengthening its defenses so it can better withstand an attack if one ever comes. It's a proactive defense.
Of course, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing for something to work in a lab mouse, but what happens when we apply these same principles to actual people living in the real world?
Well, a landmark human trial published in Cell Metabolism put this to the test. They had adults with metabolic syndrome eat all of their meals inside a 10-hour window for 3 months. And here's the key part. They didn't have to change what they ate, only when they ate. The results were absolutely stunning. Participants saw an 8% drop in their diastolic blood pressure. Now, that might not sound like a huge number, but you have to remember, high blood pressure is the single biggest risk factor for a stroke. So to get that kind of drop just from shifting your meal times, that is a massive, massive win. And it didn't even stop there. They also saw a significant drop in LDL cholesterol. That's the bad cholesterol, the stuff that builds up as plaque and clogs our arteries. So TRF helps clear out the pathways and it lowers the pressure inside them. It's a true two-pronged attack on stroke risk. The science is clear, it's compelling, and it's exciting. So how do we actually use this information? Let's break it down into a super simple 3-step protection plan that you can literally start tonight. It really just comes down to 3 rules. First, the 3-hour rule. Finish your last meal at least 3 hours before you go to bed. This gives your gut time to do its thing and wind down. Second, try to eat earlier in the day. Your body is just more efficient and insulin sensitive in the morning and afternoon. And third, and this one is crucial, be consistent. Your internal clocks thrive on routine. Sticking to your schedule, even on weekends, makes all the difference. Now, a very quick but very important note on safety. While time-restricted eating is an amazing tool for most adults, it is not for everyone. If you have a condition like type 1 diabetes, if you're pregnant, or if you have any history of disordered eating, it is absolutely essential that you talk to your doctor before making any changes like this. Your health comes first. So we'll end with this question. The science couldn't be clearer. The connection between our internal clocks, our meal times, and our brain health is undeniable. By aligning our eating schedule with our body's natural rhythm, we aren't just improving our sleep, we are actively building a more resilient, better protected brain. Thanks so much for tuning in to Sleeppedia. For more deep dives into the science of sleep and circadian rhythms, be sure to check out our website. We'll see you next time.